Okay.
If you're 37, 35% bracket, pretty tough to convert because you're probably not going to be there in retirement. But if you're in the 22 or 24 and you're going to take the money out in the 22 or 24, it makes sense to convert because then all those years before you have to take the money out, that money grows tax-free. Welcome to Wealth Creator Radio, where we help people overcome the uncertainty of having enough retirement income. I'm your host, Eric Heckman, a certified financial planner with over 30 years of experience. We want you to enjoy life and not have to wonder where your money will come from and how long it'll last. My mission is to show you how to develop a personalized income plan so you can retire more and have worry less wealth. Here at Wealth Creator Radio, we cut through the noise and get straight to what matters. We understand that the world of retirement planning can be filled with confusing products, ever-changing tax laws, and volatile markets. That's why we're here to help successful people like you navigate the uncertainty and create a blueprint for a thriving, work-optional life.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. He is offering a chance to help you create a retirement strategy where you guys are going to look at your income, your investments, your tax strategies, healthcare plan, and legacy plan. You can get our toolbox, remember, at no cost just by texting the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. All right, so we are going to get to retirement questions right now on our show. And then I'll get to kind of a real quick lightning round of think fast questions, Eric, where I'm just going to give you one thing and you have to tell me what's on your mind, okay? So that'll be coming up here at the end of this segment. But first of all, a question that is on the minds of a lot of retirees is this. When should I start considering taking Social Security?
Well, I think most people really should be around the full retirement age, which for most of us right now is 67. There's a few people born before 1960. It's a couple months earlier.
That's me.
But most people, it should be really 67. You can wait till 70. You make more money, but you also don't get the money. So it depends on when you retire, right? But but before that, it can be really hazardous because if you work and make money, you can give it back and have to pay it back and such. So, So that's still usually should be the main goal for people,
Okay.
at least full retirement age.
Full retirement age. Love it. Okay. What are the best ways for leaving an inheritance to my family?
You mean die? No, just kidding.
Well, die.
You have to do that kind of first.
You have to
right?
do that
But,
first, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. The worst assets to leave behind are IRA, 401ks, because of now, those have to be spent down over 10 years and all the taxes paid. And whereas if it's a brokerage account, if it's a house, stuff like that, it gets a step up in basis. There's no taxes due on it. Even Roth accounts are tax-free to the next generation, but they do have to be cashed in within 10 years.
Wow, they do. Okay.
Yeah. So there's, those are some, it just depends on which assets that you have, obviously. The biggest tax-free way to do it and build up more assets is really with life insurance. So, and a lot of life insurance policies today actually give you some long-term care benefits. So, we're seeing actually more and more clients where we'll move some money into life insurance, even if they're in their 60s, because not only does it leave behind some money if everything goes kind of right and they just pass away, but if things go not as right and they need long-term care, they can use up that death benefit for covering those costs, which really helps out.
Yeah, I love that idea. The fact that life insurance or insurance companies are actually helping with long-term care. I love that. Okay. Another question that is on a lot of retirees' mind. What are some ways to reduce my taxes in retirement?
Yeah, well, so the crazy part is you hear a lot of stuff about people spending a ton of money for healthcare in retirement, but really the number one thing that people spend the most money on is taxes in retirement. That is the biggest cost item. And so that's a critical question that, most financial advisors say, go talk to your tax person. Your tax person says, talk to your financial advisor. And you look like you're watching a tennis match with your head going back and forth, right? So, that's not what it should be. That's why we're licensed and trained in taxes. And you really need to be planning this because it can be a huge make or break in your retirement. So if you're not doing some Roth conversions, you're not doing tax efficient investing or tax free investing, there's lots of different options out there. But when you're building up that plan and you're figuring out what you should be doing, hands down, $1 per hour, the most lucrative planning you can ever do is actually tax planning.
Okay, very good. And of course, you and your team, that's all part of your toolbox that or your blueprint to worthless wealth, I should say, that's in the toolbox that you take people through. And then finally, this question, what do you mean when you talk about having a retirement income plan?
Yeah, so that's super critical. And can you imagine going on a hike out in the forest and you have no GPS, no map,
Oh,
no phone, and you're trying to get to some lake somewhere? you know,
yeah.
good luck, right? Maybe you get up on a hill, maybe you can see where the lake is, maybe. And then once you get there, good luck trying to even get back to your car, right? So the retirement income plan is your guide. It's your it's your navigation system in retirement, but it's something that also has to be updated every year because obviously spending happens, right? You do different things, market changes, dollar values change of accounts, and tax laws change, everything changes, right? So having that plan shows you, okay, yes, I can spend this much money for the rest of my life, and I'm gonna be good with inflation, taxes, everything, calculated in. But we have to also update that every year because, like I said, things are changing. So yeah, I cannot imagine anybody doing retirement without that.
Mhm.
Sadly, though, one of the studies shows that up to about 80% or only one in five, I guess is the positive way to say it, have a plan.
Wow,
Four and
that's
five don't, which
mhm,
is just insane.
insane.
Yeah. So, so that's very scary. That's that wandering in the forest, and good luck. So yeah, that's one of the things that we do here at Heckman Financial is we build that blueprint to worry less wealth, where we talk first and foremost about having that retirement income plan. Secondly, then, looking at that, look at how the money's invested because once you go to retire, you have to change that investment not for growth, but for money, right? For cash flow.
Yeah.
And then what's the tax ramifications of all those different accounts? Which bucket of money should you be grabbing first? What's the healthcare issues? Long term care, Medicare. How are you going to get health insurance? And then lastly, like we talked about there, who gets your stuff after you're gone? So, those are the five areas of planning that people really need to have a plan. Well, they have a plan. They need to know what their plan is
Yes.
and have an intentional plan. And so that's what we do here at Ekman Financial. And if you want to set up a time to just talk on the phone for 15, 30 minutes with me, you can do that. All you have to do is text the word visit to 800 454 1184. Again, text the word visit 800 454 1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Yeah, what we're trying to do here is help transform your worries of retirement into confidence. That's Eric's goal for you. That's why he's here every single week. And goodness sakes, he's done this for over 30 years. So talk about wisdom that you can gain from someone who deals with retirees every single day. So we just thank you so much for spending part of your day with us today. This is Wealth Creator Radio. I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial. All right. So now we are going to take a couple minutes, go into this lightning round of questions so we can get to know you, Eric, just a little bit better. I'm going to give you a quick, topic or something, and I want you to just quickly answer as quick as you can. All right.
All
Here we go.
right. Sounds good.
Okay. Here we go. First one, top news sources you check regularly.
Well, let's see. I still get my local Mercury News, emails,
Emails.
not the paper,
Okay.
and also Wall Street Journal.
Okay. Got it. What book have you read more than once, Eric?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. Well, Think and Grow Rich is an old one that's a really good book, and actually Compound Effect by Darren Hardy I think is one of the best ones. And so
Compound effect.
yeah, that one I've don't know if I count reading it twice. I read it and then I've also done the audio, so I think
Ah,
it kind
there
of
you go. I
counts.
think it counts. How many siblings do you have, Eric?
Not anymore, but I had a sister who lost her 20-year battle of leukemia a while back. But
Oh,
yep,
you had a sister, little sister, big sister,
older sister. Yeah.
older sister. Okay, I'm sorry though. I'm very sorry. Favorite sport?
Well, to watch is Sharks hockey.
Yeah.
I guess as most people know, I do a lot of cycling. So that'd be the one I actually do. I guess
Yes.
the most is
Cycling.
usually try to ride about 4,000 miles a year or so.
That's amazing. I love that. What was your first car?
It was a little Mazda hatchback, so
Aw.
GLC, which
What color?
It was pretty ugly. It was actually like, I don't know, some brown.
Oh, that's
You
funny.
know,
That's funny.
yeah.
Cake or pie?
I'd actually say probably pie.
Ooh, what
But
kind of
it's hard.
pie?
It's hard to get pies nowadays.
It is,
There's almost
yeah.
no place that sells them anymore.
Okay, my last question, because I'm gonna have to wrap it up. Most important thing you want your clients to know about you?
Well, I mean, one of the things I'm most proud of is I was able to take care of my dad for 20 years, for his 20 years of retirement, or well, 20 years after my mom passed away. They were retired for about 3 years before she passed away at 60, which was way early.
Way early.
And so being able to take care of him is probably the best thing I was ever able to give my mom. And it's what I do for my clients. I mean, it's just ready to sit there and figure out, okay, how can we make sure this all happens? How can we make sure you stay on track and enjoy a worry less wealth retirement? So that's what we're here for. But yeah, if you got some questions, you want to learn a little bit more and you want to just ask me some questions, feel free. All you have to do is text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit 800-454-1184. Or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Would you rather pay more or less in taxes? If you want to pay more, don't do anything. If you want to pay less, talk to Eric Heckman to see what's possible for you. 800-454-1184. That's 800-454-1184.
Hi there, I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, a certified financial planner, someone who is passionate about helping you plan your retirement. And with all the uncertainty about where taxes are headed, more and more people are seriously looking at Roth conversions. But the thing is, the idea of moving their money out of that traditional IRA into a Roth means paying taxes now. Well, it makes sense on paper because then you're going to have tax-free withdrawals later. But then when people see that tax bill, Eric, they get a little bit scared and then they kind of freeze. So my question to you, we're going to talk about Roth conversions today. Is a Roth conversion actually a good idea, or is the upfront cost just too high?
Well, it's kind of like, why do you exercise? Why do you eat right? Why do you brush your teeth? All these things, right?
Right.
What are you trying to prevent or help, down the road, right? And, passing up that donut or passing up the candy or something like that may not be as fun, but at least you don't have to work out more and you don't have to,
That's right.
try to get those pounds back off. And,
Yep.
Same kind of thing with taxes. I mean, really, it's, the hard part is we all got kind of addicted to this whole thing of, oh, yeah, wait to pay the taxes later. Wait to pay the taxes later. Well, there's a couple critical questions nobody asked. What's the tax rate going to be? And can I have that in writing? So
I love that. We want it in writing for sure,
yeah,
right?
and the whole myth of, you're going to retire in a lower tax bracket. We're finding everybody who's retired is not finding that at all. I mean, that's been a myth, and it was, a way to really an excuse to get people out of pensions, out of, those types of plans that would cost companies tons and get them into 401ks. And so, so that's the hard part is, once you have that, taking that money to pay the tax now to get rid of the tax bill for the rest of your life, it's a huge deal. And people just don't really conceive it, but that's because we got hooked on this, pre-tax stuff. And the sooner you can get off that, the better you're going to be.
Okay, so for viewers who might be unfamiliar, with what a Roth conversion actually is, tell us, what are some of the less obvious reasons it would be a good tax move for some people?
Yeah, well, so I always tell people the government gives you 2 out of 3 things. There's tax deductible, tax deferral, and tax free. So do you get to write off the money and when you put it in? Do you pay tax annually on the money as it grows? And then do you pay taxes at the end? So if you're doing a 401k, 403b, 457, IRA, all those things, those are all you get a write-off, supposedly a write-off, when you put the money in. Yeah, you don't pay taxes now, but it's not a deduction, really. It's just a deferral.
A deferral, yeah.
Yeah, and then you don't pay tax on the growth, so that part's great. But at the end, if you do a really great job, I mean, you picked all the right stocks, you did everything perfectly, government's going to be so happy because they get to tax that full balance, and not at today's tax rates when you deferred it, at the tax rates of then. And I
Right.
was in DC at a conference. We had Janet Yellen, Fed chair, talking. We had Karl Rove from Republican campaign manager for Bush, and then we had James Carville, who was Clinton's campaign manager, and they all had the exact same message that the government is way overspending. We
Right.
have too much debt. We are not on a sustainable path, and the only way to get out of this is rising taxes. So if taxes go up, and you're going to wait to pay that tax, then that's bad. So when you do a Roth conversion, you're saying, okay, I'm going to pay the tax today,
Mm.
get Uncle Sam out of my pocket for the rest of my life for that pot of money. And, so it sucks because you have to pay tax.
Right.
but, now you don't have to have RMDs. Now you don't have to have higher adjusted gross income that could affect your Medicare premiums. There's a lot of different things that, having that pot of money. And one part I think most people forget is, I had a client who said, he does a lot of work around the house and other stuff. And his old truck his old beat up truck was way too beat up anymore to get around. And he needed a new truck. And we had money in a Roth. We could just take it out of there, and it did not affect his tax return. So it's also
Wow.
great to have a big pot of money that you can go grab for whatever it is, roof repairs or home repairs or, car, vacation, something where it might jump you up to the next bracket, but you can avoid that. So, so I think that's one of the critical things that people forget.
Right. I love, it's so true that, we have no idea what the tax rate is going to be. So it makes perfectly, it's perfectly logical to think, go ahead and do it now. Why don't more people do this if this opportunity is so valuable?
Yeah. Just some, they just don't think about it. A lot of it's just because, just like, why don't people work out more? Why don't people get up and walk, take a walk after dinner, or do something
Yeah.
to get some exercise, right? Because there's always easier things. You can scroll your phone,
Yeah.
turn on TV, so there's so many, less energetic things to do. But pretty much everybody I talk to in their 70s, when they're having RMDs, when they're having all these tax issues, hands down, they almost always tell me, man, I wish I'd done this so much earlier. I wish I'd done, I hear that so many times. And since 2010, everybody, regardless of income, has been able to convert to Roth. So this is not a new thing. This is not something that just happened and you weren't paying attention, unless you weren't paying attention for almost 2 decades. So
That's a long
yeah,
time.
yeah. So that's why, education's such a big thing for us. And one of the quick reads we have is, are you paying too much in taxes in retirement? Social Security timing decision. Will your money last as long as you do? Obviously, with less tax, it lasts a lot longer. And, you can get a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth. We have this all set up in a digital toolbox that you can just go in and grab and open those drawers and take whatever you need out. No cost, no obligation. There's also a link in there to set a time with Team Heckman here. So all you got to do is text word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or click the link below online.
And we thank you so much for joining us today. This is Wealth Creator Radio. So happy to have you with us today. So Eric, for somebody who's been saying, oh yeah, I'll think about a Roth conversion someday, how urgent is this really to be doing right now? And how do you help them see that?
Well, right now we are in a super low tax rate, historically speaking. And we know this tax law goes away at the end of 2028. So biggest sale ever. Just think of it that way. Think about it going to a store, biggest sale ever, and expires in 2 years. And when are you going to go? In 3 years? I hope not.
No.
You really should be going now and in each year. And so, no, it is super critical. And it's not just about Roth conversions too. The other thing too, that a lot of people have access to, and it's amazing how many people don't know, is their 401k at work has probably a Roth option. Almost every single one does now. And you can do that regardless of income. So, that's another way to get more and more money tax-free. As of 2026, anybody doing the catch-up part, the extra part for over 50, if you make over 145,000, you have to fund the Roth side anyways. So, they're telling you fund Roth more. And so there's lots of options there, but people just got to pay attention and take some action.
Yeah. So everybody's, conversion amount is going to vary, of course, their account size, social security timing, their pension income, all that. How do you help someone estimate when or what might be the optimal number?
Yeah, no, so we've got some really great software where we just scan in somebody's tax return. We make whatever adjustments for this calendar year, right? So how much did you make? Dividends? Did you sell stuff? And then we can tell you down pretty close to the penny of what you're going to pay tax wise and where it makes sense. Now, I've had one client where, $50,000 conversion was twice the tax of 30. I mean, more than twice. It was about triple the tax because he was losing some other benefits and other things. So sometimes, you have to go, okay, where's that sweet spot? Does it mess up your Medicare premiums, other things like that? So it's a calculation you got to do every single year. But, again, that's why we've got the toolbox here. We got some ways to get some education and also set up time to talk with us. There's no cost, no obligation. So all you have to do is text word toolbox 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox 800-454-1184 or click the link below.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio. That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
Hi there, welcome back. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. And before this break, we were talking about the Roth conversion opportunities and why paying taxes at today's known rate could potentially beat paying taxes more later. So I want to talk right now about some of the landmines. Tell us what are some of the biggest mistakes people might make with Roth conversions, Eric?
It can be very complicated because every year is different in your taxes. And especially when you're retired, it's people don't kind of get the concept, but you actually pick your tax bracket, which sounds weird. But when you're working, you get that W-2. It is what it is pretty much. There's not much you can do about it. But when you're retired, now if you take your money from your taxable, tax-free, tax-deferred, all that stuff has different ramifications. So, one thing is, are you paying tax on Social Security? Sometimes if you're under that limit, you might take a dollar out and it might cause 85 cents more of your Social Security to get taxed. So that's pretty brutal. For Medicare premiums, this is the sneakiest one out there. It's not technically a tax, but it smells like a tax, walks like a tax, acts like
looks like a tax. Yeah.
This one is where they base your Medicare premiums on your taxes, but they do it from 2 years ago. So this one can really come back and sneak up and get you because you could do a Roth this year and they're not going to change your Medicare premiums for 2 years. And then all of a sudden you're going to be like, what? Hold it. What? And I don't know any professional tax software that has that, but our tax estimation software definitely has that in our calculations. And so then some of the things that, also could be is just, where else are you taking money from? Are you hitting higher levels? There's things like at 200 and single and 250 married, you have a special Medicare surtax that hits at 3.8%. So there's all sorts of little landmines in our tax code that are really complicated to figure out. So really the only way I know how to do it, I wouldn't even guess at the taxes for people. We just put it in our software and say, okay, here's what it would be. And, here's where it works and where it doesn't. Because sometimes, I met somebody one time at one of our live events and he said he did a $500,000 conversion. It's like, why? Because
wow,
he was single. He was in the 37% bracket. He's paying the 3.8%. He probably paid double the tax if he just, do that over 3 years or something, and you would have cut your taxes in half. And so you don't want to also be crazy about it, but you do want to be smart about it. And you do want to do some, even though it may be. I kind of think of it as a seesaw or teeter-totter, depending on where you grew up. So, if you're in the 10 or 12% bracket, oh my gosh, convert, right? Because that's so cheap. If you're 37, 35% bracket, pretty tough to convert because you're probably not going to be there in retirement. But if you're in the 22 or 24 and you're going to take the money out in the 22 or 24, it makes sense to convert because then all those years before you have to take the money out, that money grows tax-free. And so that could be a huge, huge benefit. So a lot of times people just don't know the premise and the thought process around it. And it's super complicated. We'll definitely give you that because every year your tax picture is different. So we have a huge list of our clients that we go through this every October, November with. And we're reaching out to all of them and saying, okay, do you want to do the Roth conversion analysis? Here's what we need from you. Here's the updated, financials for this year. And then we can see, does it make sense? How much? And what's the ideal number?
Right. It all sounds so complex. So tell us, are there some guiding principles that you guys use that might help determine when a conversion might make sense?
Well, like I said, I mean, probably the big one would be looking at if you're roughly in the same bracket, like if you're going to be probably this bracket now and that bracket later. Now, the reality is we're going to probably have higher rates. And so, the bracket we think you're going to be in, if you think you're going to be in 22 or 24 later on, it might actually be way higher. So it might even make you more likely to do it. Sometimes there's certain things where, you lose out some special benefits. If you're over 65 now, there's that Trump tax law thing where, you can get a $6,000 per person extra deduction, but you have to be under certain income limits. So, you might be under it without the conversion, but with the conversion, you might lose it. So then you have to go, okay, well, what is that cost, right? What is, doesn't necessarily mean it's bad to lose it, but it just means you have to figure that number in there and maybe you don't want to do that. So it can be really kind of complicated. And, it takes really the biggest key is we always have it in the form of an income plan. So when you have the income and spending plan where it runs out your money for the rest of your life, with taxes, inflation, everything, we can actually see, okay, does that money, if we do some Roth conversions, does that lower your lifetime taxes? And if it lowers it a lot, let's do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so there's another dimension of Roth conversions I've heard you describe as a gift. So it's related to what heirs are going to inherit. Walk us through that, please.
Yeah. So back in 2020, they changed the rules on, when it goes to the next generation. And now the next generation has to take all the money and pay all the tax within 10 years, which, if you've, like say, if you're married, maybe you've done really well, you got $1 million in there. If all of a sudden you both pass away, that child of yours has $100K of extra income for 10 years. And most likely they're working. So that is not going to be at a low bracket. That's going to be at a really high bracket. So the same rules still apply with Roth, but there's no tax. So you can leave it in there till the last day of the 10th year and then take it all out. You then have to put it into a taxable account or someplace else, but at least there's no taxes for all 10 years. So huge difference, massive difference. So leaving somebody $1 million of taxable versus leaving somebody of 750 tax free, I would take the 750 all the time.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's look at a specific situation. Let's say someone has a large IRA, but they've never mapped out, what a Roth conversion could look like. How do you help build that picture with them?
Usually if we've got a lot of clients that have several $1 million IRAs and it's, the taxes at 73 and 75 when you have that required minimum distribution are, kind of crazy. Sometimes we've got people where there'll be $300,000 or $500,000 of income at that age.
Wow.
And you're just going to go, what? So they did a good job saving, but they're just going to get really penalized. So really for those people, it's more about how do we stunt the growth? How do we slow this thing down? How do we get a little bit less horrible? I just, I don't tell people we're going to try to make taxes better. It was just less bad. So if we can make them just less bad, they're not going to be ever good. But somebody in that situation, if we can just make it, less bad by, doing some of that money tax-free today, paying some of that tax now, it'll make it not as many higher brackets because, especially if you think just the jump from 24 to 32%, most people say, oh, it's an 8% jump. Well, it's actually a 1/3 increase in your taxes.
Wow.
And so if you can avoid that jump, that's going to be a huge one. And again, that has nothing to do about anybody else but you. That's just saving you money. It's not the next generation. You're not doing it. You're just doing it to say, okay, if I wait to pay these taxes, I'm going to get clobbered. So I might as well start, doing something now.
Yeah. For someone who wants a written multi-year Roth conversion strategy instead of just the annual guesswork, what should they consider doing today, Eric?
Well, I think the multi-year is the only way to do it. You can't be,
Yeah.
this is not a one and done thing.
Okay.
It's going to take years to do these. And the sooner you can do them, the faster and the better you can be. So, I would definitely have those people reach out and say, can you help us set this up and build this into our income plan and income and spending plan? And then we can see what works. But, it depends year by year always because of tax laws change. Everything changes, right? Spending levels and such. So, if somebody wants to get a little bit more information, they can also text the word visit to 800-454-1184. No costs, no obligations, time to just talk. Again, text word visit 800-454-1184 or click the link below. This is Eric Heckman. I'm excited to share a sneak peek of a movie I co-produced, The Psychology of Retirement.
Who are the baby boomers?
If I had to describe the baby boomer generation in one word, it would be independent.
To be honest, I have done zero preparations.
My number one fear about retirement is the future. 20 years from now. I just want enough money to be able to live.
The whole purpose of money is to give yourself a better life. Not just for your money to pay your bills, but to reduce an amount of anxiety and uncertainty that you have in your life so that you can actually enjoy these years that you probably spent decades building up for.
To get your free link to the movie, text the word movie to 800-454-1184. That's movie 800-454-1184.
Investment advisory and insurance services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., an SEC registered investment advisor. Hi there, I'm Luann Fulmer. This is Wealth Creator Radio. Imagine a life where you would wake up when you want, travel whenever you feel like it, and then savor every single day on your own terms. Well, Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial is here to help us see if this dream could come true for us. So I do want to start off by giving you our phone number as we get started today. You'll hear it a lot and you'll want to use it. You can call or you can text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Okay, if you want to text, just text the word visit. That easy to get on our calendar. Another thing you can do is text the word toolbox, and you can get the book that Eric wrote and a lot of other resources that can help you in retirement and help you answer some of your questions about retirement. So text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. And remember, our website is wealthcreatorradio.com. Okay, early retirement. What would be some steps that we could take to see if we are ready?
Well, the first one's really is you have to know, what is that spending level going to be? And the real number, not the one that you say in your head, because everybody says they spend one number. And then I ask them to total your last 12 months bank statements, withdrawals, and divide it by 12. And once you do that, that number does not match what you said you spend. So that's an important one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you kind of mentioned there, if you've got 7 days a weekend, because you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, you might spend a little bit extra money, right? You might be doing all those bucket list items. That's the whole point of trying to retire early, is so that way you can go off and have some more fun. So if that's the case and you're going to do that, then, okay, how much are you going to be spending and what is that? And let's get that number and see if we can make that money last.
Yeah, so true. Make that money last. Now, obviously, we have our money. How important is it to diversify our income streams?
Yeah, so that's a huge one, right? Is how are you going to get this money back out, right? For 30, maybe 40 years, you've been putting it one direction, right? Going forward, just socking it away. Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're going the opposite direction, right? You're pulling it back out. And so that can't be stuff that you just sell every month because the markets go up and down. So yeah, you need some steady income. You need some cash flow, some money that's paying in. And then you also need some money protected because, those bad years happen, right? Those bad years, about every 3 out of 10 years in a decade, that's going to be a bad year. And on those bad years, well, we want to make sure you got places where you don't lock in those losses. So yeah, having it allocated to more of like what a pension manager or endowment manager would do, where they're trying to pay out money consistently versus just trying to have the money get bigger and bigger. So that's a big key.
Now, what about debt? What role does that play in our retirement?
Well, it makes it a lot harder to retire, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah. So, I mean, you don't necessarily have to be mortgage free, but again, it has to be, but have to have enough income and cash flow to be able to pay that mortgage, right? So, is that something you're going to be able to do? Are you going to downsize into a less expensive house and then be able to pay cash? Which way are you going to, go with all that? But obviously, stuff like credit cards and other stuff. Yeah, if you've got that, you should not be trying to retire at all. You should have that paid off
Right.
way ahead of time. And car loans are a little bit different because you're not going to be retired for 30 years and only have one car. That'd be pretty amazing if you did. Probably the car would be pretty sad by the time the 30 years are up.
Exactly.
So yeah, you're going to have to also budget a little bit for some of that stuff that you have to replace. But yeah. I mean, you definitely need to be looking at that and making sure you don't have too much debt. And mortgage is okay, but yeah, consumer debt, no, you should not have any of that.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned mortgage debt. I think everybody wants to know if they should pay off their mortgage before they retire. So mortgage debt is okay. But my husband and I, we did move about in our 50s. We're 65 and 66. I'm older. But we did move. We downsized. And so we got out of our debt. And we're trying to pay cash for everything. So we are trying to do that, get everything straight. Yeah. Now, I want to talk about health care because I think a lot of people think, oh, what am I going to do when I retire about health care? If you retire before Medicare age, that makes things a little more complicated, right?
Yeah, that's hands down the number one expense that is the hardest to overcome. I mean, it's not something you're going to avoid. It's just something that you're going to have to deal with. And so most people, if they get in their benefits through work, they're actually not paying for their health insurance out of their gross paycheck. I mean, their net paycheck, right? They're paying out of the gross part. So they don't even think about it as a monthly expense. And then all of a sudden you find out it's, $1,000 per person until you get to that 65 number. And then maybe it's $300 or $400. That's a big cash flow item, right? I mean, if all of a sudden you're both under 65 and you're going from zero, of your take home pay to being 2,000 or more for health insurance. Yeah, that's something you got to plan for. You can do certain things to try to make your income look lower and maybe qualify for some of the government benefits. But if you're also going out and having fun and doing all this other stuff, it might not be feasible. So, that's one of those reasons why people really first and foremost need to have a personalized income plan, one that is geared for them to see and be able to see, okay, yeah, I need to do this. I need to, I can see where my money's lasting and it's going to last till I'm 95 or 100. Or you get that plan and it says you're going to last till 75 or 70. And it's like, ooh, okay, time to redo the plan. And no, I should not be retiring now. I need to work longer. So, yeah. So if you have that, it's simple to find out these answers to these questions. But without that, I don't know how you do it. So one of the things that we can do here at Heckman Financial is actually help you design that. There's no cost, no obligation. And so, yeah, if you want to, reach out and find out a little bit more, the easiest way is you can either call us or text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit, 800-454-1184, or book directly online with the link below.
All right. And thank you for joining us today. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. And if you are just joining us, we're talking about ways to know if you are ready to retire. And we're talking retire early. So, Eric, how does someone know if they're emotionally or mentally prepared? Because when my husband and I think about it, if ever we're taking a break on a holiday or whatever, we're kind of like, I don't know if I could, what would I do all day? How do you help people?
Yeah, I mean, that is a tough one. Some people have a tougher time with it. Some people love it. It is a big shift. I think probably the best I ever had is one of my clients early on told me it felt like Wile E. Coyote when he runs off the cliff and he's running in midair before he falls down. And, you don't know exactly where you're going to land once you jump off that work wagon, right? And or work cliff, I guess, in this
Whatever,
case.
yeah.
And, and so, it's your identity. It's who you are. It's who a lot of people and hang out with and talk to, right? Or people or coworkers, right? So, so that is one thing you'll be giving up. But also, I mean, what other things are you involved in? Are you involved in lots of different groups and organizations and other things that, where you can go off and get real active? I've got some of my neighbors who've joined my Rotary Club now, and they're kind of doing it as a retirement kind of way to get more involved and do things. And so there's lots of ways that you can give back to the community, just be out there, have fun, do things. So, now if you retire to just sitting on the couch at home all day, yeah, I don't think that'll be so good. So yeah, you have to retire to something, not just from something, but you have to retire to something, and you have to figure out where am I retiring to?
Right. And you said, you got to make sure your money lasts 30, 40 years real quick. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, with proper planning and the right allocation and having some protected assets and some stuff that's guaranteed that can't go away, there's lots of ways you can do it. So, the other thing we have, available for people is our toolbox that has literally a book that says a little quick read of will my money last as long as I do, and Social Security timing decision, and a copy of my book Worry Less Wealth. So, if you want to get access to all that, it's super simple. All you do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox 800-454-1184, or download using the link below.
Imagine for a moment that an intense storm is pounding your house. Will the roof leak? Will the siding peel away? Will your basement flood? If your house is properly built and maintained, you'll be fine. But what about your 401k or your investments? The stock market has had a great run the last few years, but is its current turmoil making you feel uneasy? Are you confident your portfolio is built to weather the financial storm? Now may be a great time to have your retirement plan inspected. Call Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial at 800-454-1184 now. Eric will examine your portfolio and show you if your investments are in need of some weatherproofing. Call Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial today at 800-454-1184. That's 800-454-1184. Investment advisory service is offered through Heckman Financial Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor.
Hello, I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, and we are at the end of our show. It's a time in our show where Eric shares a story with us about a retiree, and we're going to talk about some wealth success stories. It's always a really good example for us to kind of see how something has worked out for the best for retirees. So what do you have for us today, Eric?
Yeah, I think today would be just a little bit more fun, just talk about some tax success stories.
Ooh, okay. Love it.
Which sounds weird. Taxes are usually negative.
But that's good. We're putting a positive spin.
Right. But no, I mean, I've had some clients, like I have one that he was worked for PG&E, retired with a pension. She'd worked with Kaiser as a nurse and retired with a pension. So pretty rare, because most people in this valley don't have two pensions. So, so they've got some good income, and their income's not going to drop because those pensions keep coming in. Social Security keeps coming in. But what we were able to be doing is converting a good portion of their money over to Roth every year. And what that's going to do is, especially now that they're required minimum distribution age, where they have to take the money out, it's not till 75. We, by doing this, we're going to probably at least cut in half the amount of the money that they're going to have to pay tax on for the rest of their life.
Excellent.
So we're leveling that out, because if we deferred, and then all of a sudden jumped up that, they would probably go from the 22 to 35% bracket. I mean, it'd be ugly. And so that's one way to do it. Another thing is, I was meeting with a new client, and he'd had some good payouts from this company he was working at, and his taxable account had started getting bigger and bigger. Well, his wife had retired, so you'd think their income would be a little bit less. She's got a pension too, because she worked as a teacher, but it was not as much as she was making before. But looking at their tax return, they're making way, way more money, because this non-qualified account, there's what we call non-qualified, meaning non-IRA, non-retirement dollars, right? Regular money. That had paid $80,000 in dividends and capital gains that last year.
Oh, wow.
So that was more than her pension, almost more than she was making before. So it was like having a third job or something all of a sudden, but they didn't do anything with the money, right? That was money is being saved for later. And so what that really meant to us was, hey, this account's not being managed very well, tax efficiently wise. So what we were able to do is reorientate that account to way more. We moved some stuff to some guaranteed assets that are now tax deferred, so they can pick their taxation on those. Did some direct indexing with tax loss harvesting, which is a fancy way of saying, we're buying the index, but we're buying a little bit smarter, and we're going to be able to control the tax environment. And so by making these little tweaks, it's going to lower he's going to work for a few more years. So it's going to lower their taxes by a ton. And, when you don't need that money, you want to do that. And, and I've also seen this with, I had a client that they'd sold off a house. They put a bunch of money in, in just CDs. Well, they'd made $50,000 of taxable interest, which is great, but they didn't need the money. And now they're paying tax on $50,000. Well, that was making them pay tax penalties, all sorts of stuff. So again, we moved a lot of that to some tax deferred stuff that's guaranteed, that's earning a higher rate than their CDs were. And now they can pick their tax time. Thank you for tuning in to Wealth Creator Radio. I'm Eric Heckman, and it's been a pleasure guiding you towards a more confident and secure retirement. Remember, my responsibility is to always do what's right for you, our client. Together, we can cut out that fancy sounding financial jargon that doesn't help and focus on what truly matters for your financial future. If you're ready to take control of your retirement planning and build a personalized income plan, contact us at 800-454-1184 and text the word Toolbox to schedule a complimentary consultation. If you're looking for more resources and tools to build your retirement future, don't forget to check out that Wealth Creator Toolbox, your toolkit for a secure and confident retirement journey. Until next time, retire more and worry less with Wealth Creator Radio.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.